Hi. I'm just gathering some materials so we can build a house. My friends need a place to live. I thought it would be fun to make them one. You know, everybody needs a home. A place to eat, sleep, take shelter, maybe even raise a family. But you can't just plunk yourself anywhere. Here's a story about someone who goes house hunting and checks out plenty of real estate before hunkering down. It's called, Is This a House for Hermit Crab?
Is This a House for Hermit Crab? By Megan McDonald. Illustrated by S.D. Schindler. Read by Eartha Kitt. Hermit Crab was forever growing too big for the house on his back. It was time to find a new house. He crawled up out of the water, looking for something to hide in, where he would be safe from the prickle pine fish. He stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scratch, 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 until he came to a rock. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Turning himself around, Hermit Crab backed his hind legs beneath the rock. The rock would not budge. It was too heavy. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a rusty old tin can. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? When he tried to walk with the can on his back, it bumped and clunked and bumped and clunked. It was too noisy. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a piece of driftwood. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Hermit Crab crawled deep inside the rounded hollow at one end. It was too dark. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a small plastic pail. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Climbing up towards the rim, oops, he fell right in. He clawed and he clawed until he climbed out. It was too deep. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scratch, until he came to a nice round hole in the sand. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? He poked his head down into the opening. A huge pair of eyes blinked back at him. Hermit Crab shivered as he scurried away from the big fiddler crab, peering out of the burrow. It was too crowded. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scratch, 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 until he came to a fishing net. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Poking his claws into the heap, he got tangled and caught. Hermit Crab wriggled and wriggled until he found his way out of the net. It had too many holes. So he stepped along the shore by the sea in the sand. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. All of a sudden, a gigantic wave tossed and tumbled pebbles and sand over Hermit Crab's head. He swirled and whirled with the tide and was washed back out to sea. Sleeker than a shark, the prickle-pine fish darted from its hiding place in the tall seaweed. Every spine of its back stood straight as a steeple. Mouth open wide, it headed right for Hermit Crab. Hermit Crab raced across the ocean floor. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scritch. Scurrying behind the first creature he saw. It was a sea snail, and he hoped it would hide him, but the shell was empty. The shell was empty! Hermit Crab scrambled inside as quick as a flash and clamped his claw over the opening in the shell. The prickle-pine fish circled the snail shell 3 times, but he could not catch sight of the crab he had been chasing. He glided off in search of something else to eat. When all seemed still and quiet, Hermit Crab snuggled comfortably down into his new shell. It was not too heavy, not too noisy, not too dark, and not too deep. It was not too crowded and did not have too many holes. At last, Hermit Crab had found a new home, and it fit just right.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. As Hermit Crab found out, your house has to be right for you. And who you are determines what you need. Since my friends are birds, wrens about yay high, they don't need a big or fancy place, just one that's safe and cozy and will protect them from bad weather. Now, of course, they're going to need a front door. So, make my mark here. So let's just cut out a small round hole that'll let the wrens in but keep the squirrels and bigger birds out. Yeah, that looks good. You know, every animal has its own dream house, be it hive, nest, tunnel, or den. So here are some digs you might not want to curl up in, but their owners think they're fit for a king.
Lifestyles of the Wild and Tameless. To a bat, this cave is just about the best spot to hang out in, especially if you like living with all your family and all your friends close by. There are 20 million bats here, and always room for one more. But if you think you'd get more privacy living in these holes, think again. This is a huge apartment complex of sand martins, and with beak and claw, the birds dig holes in the sand themselves. At last, a place where you can be home alone. A baby kangaroo just climbs on into its mama's pouch, gets real comfortable, and goes along for the ride. Hey, are we there yet? What kind of home looks like a tree stump but isn't? Looks like a fence but isn't? And just might be 20 feet high. It's a termite mound. built by a colony of termites out of dirt and their very own saliva. Hello? Who is it? An owl, living inside a tree. Woo! Woo! It's not unusual for birds to build nests, but these birds, weaver birds, actually weave homes out of leaves and grass, making little thatched houses that dangle from tree branches. And if it behooves you to live on the side of a rocky cliff, perhaps you'd like this neighborhood where the ibex lives. Do come prepared with hard, ridged feet, because in this home you'll be expected to climb the walls. Before you stop, put your feet up and enjoy the view.